Queen Elizabeth I was immortalized as the untouchable Virgin Queen, but her legendary white mask hid a disturbing truth, now confirmed by DNA. The very cosmetics that created her image may have been slowly killing her. If this is true, history's most powerful monarch was doomed by a beauty ritual, one her own court tried desperately to conceal. So why did no one ever speak of it, and how the evidence remained buried for centuries? Those questions are only now coming to light. In the aftermath of her brush with smallpox in 1562, Elizabeth I faced a new kind of threat, one not from foreign rivals or religious rebels, but from her own reflection. The scars left behind were more than physical. In an era where flawless skin signaled purity, power, and noble birth, any imperfection risked undermining a monarch's authority. The answer arrived in the form of Venetian ceruse, a gleaming white paste imported at great expense from Italy. Its recipe was simple but perilous. Water, vinegar, and refined white lead. When spread thickly across the face and neck, the ceruse erased blemishes and cast an unearthly pallor that became the very emblem of English royalty. Pale skin was more than fashion. It was a social code. Only those untouched by sun, those who could afford lives of leisure indoors, were considered truly noble. For Elizabeth, the stakes were higher still. Every audience, every portrait, every public appearance demanded perfection. The Queen's image became inseparable from her rule. She was not simply a woman in makeup, but a living symbol of the state, her face a canvas painted with authority and myth. The court followed suit. Nobles and ladies-in-waiting layered on the same toxic mask, each striving to mirror the Queen's untouchable appearance. The thicker the application, the clearer the message. Here stood someone above the common world, immune to time and toil. Ceruse was kept on for days, with daily touch-ups to maintain the flawless effect. Removal required harsh cleansers, rose water, lemon juice, sometimes even more mercury, each step compounding the damage beneath the surface. Elizabeth's dependence on ceruse was not mere vanity. It was a calculated act of survival in a court where a single flaw could be seized upon by enemies or whispered about by ambassadors. The Venetian ceruse became both shield and prison, concealing scars while quietly embedding a new kind of danger into the Queen's daily ritual. Over time, the mask hardened into a necessity, one that would define her public image and, as later evidence suggests, exact a terrible private cost. Fatigue crept in first, subtle and persistent. Letters from the late 1580s speak of a queen who once danced until dawn, now retreating early from banquets, her energy spent long before the music faded. Courtiers whispered about her pallor, but the more telling signs came in everyday gestures. A trembling hand as she signed state papers, a hesitation in speech that had once commanded silence. The French ambassador in dispatches sent to Paris described a monarch grown withdrawn and irritable, her mood swinging between sharp anger and long silences. Those closest to Elizabeth noticed her hair thinning, the once vivid copper replaced by elaborate wigs. The Queen's famed red locks, now brittle and sparse, required careful arrangement by her ladies each morning, strands falling away with every touch. Reports from foreign envoys grew more pointed as the years passed. By 1596, one noted that Elizabeth's memory seemed to falter. She struggled with names, repeated herself in council, and sometimes lost track of the conversation. The Venetian ambassador recorded a moment when the Queen, mid-audience, stared absently at the wall, unmoving for so long that attendants exchanged nervous glances. Behind closed doors, her physicians debated the cause: melancholy, age, perhaps some lingering effect of her childhood illnesses. Yet the pattern was unmistakable, a slow, relentless decline that no courtly ritual could disguise. Physical symptoms multiplied. Elizabeth's teeth blackened and loosened, making it painful to eat or speak. Abscesses in her gums left her breath sour and her appetite gone. She grew gaunt, her features hollowed by years of chronic discomfort. The elaborate ruffs and high collars of her gowns, once symbols of regal authority, now served to conceal the sallow skin and sores that marred her neck and jawline. Diaries from her ladies-in-waiting mention headaches, joint pain, and spells of confusion, ailments dismissed in public but quietly discussed in private chambers. Even as her body betrayed her, Elizabeth clung to the rituals of power. She insisted on daily audiences, refusing to let her counselors see her weakness. But the mask began to crack. In the final years of her reign, the Queen's isolation deepened. She trusted fewer people, dismissed old friends, and grew suspicious of even her most loyal advisors. The cost of perfection, once measured in coin and ceremony, became a daily toll on her mind and body. Each symptom, carefully hidden beneath layers of white paint and silk, left a mark on the woman beneath the crown. The slow unraveling of Elizabeth's health, chronicled by those who watched from the shadows, revealed a monarch at war, not just with her enemies, but with her own reflection. Inside the royal palaces, silence became the law. In early 1603, as Elizabeth's health faltered, her closest advisors, William Cecil, Lord Burleigh, and Francis Walsingham, tightened their grip on every whisper that left the Queen's chambers. No public announcements were made, no bulletins posted. Even the Privy Council's official minutes, usually meticulous, grew vague and evasive. Foreign diplomats found themselves stonewalled. The Venetian secretary, desperate for news, sent dispatches back to Europe describing a court where rumors replaced facts and truth was rationed out by the handful. Courtiers who dared to speculate risked censure, or worse, their careers hanging on a single careless word. Elizabeth herself named no heir. The question of succession remained a forbidden topic, its discussion punishable by instant disgrace. Physicians attended the Queen under the strictest watch, their findings relayed only to a handful of trusted ministers. No autopsy would be performed. The Queen's body, like her legacy, would be sealed from scrutiny. In this vacuum, anxiety grew. The fate of the realm hung on the health of a single woman, and the machinery of state ran on secrets and half-truths. Burleigh and Walsingham, masters of political chess, understood the stakes. A hint of instability could ignite factional violence or foreign intervention. By controlling every thread of information, they hoped to maintain order. But their methods left a trail of unanswered questions. The absence of open inquiry created a void only modern science dares to approach centuries later. In the final weeks of the Tudor dynasty, the truth was not merely hidden, it was forbidden. Inside a modern laboratory, a team of scientists gathers around a set of sealed vials, each containing a fragment of history. The investigation begins with a single strand of hair, preserved in a reliquary and attributed to Elizabeth I. Using laser ablation, inductively coupled plasma mass spectrometry, researchers map the distribution of heavy metals along the length of the hair shaft. Each centimeter marks a month in the Queen's life, allowing scientists to reconstruct a timeline of exposure. The analysis reveals persistent, elevated levels of lead, far above what is found in control samples from the same era. This pattern rules out accidental contamination and points to chronic in vivo absorption. The results are reviewed by a multidisciplinary panel, forensic toxicologists, geneticists, and historians. Professor Turi King, renowned for her work on Richard III, synthesizes the findings. She explains that while the DNA is too degraded for a full genome sequence, mitochondrial fragments confirm the sample's Tudor maternal lineage. More telling is the chemical residue, lead concentrations peaking at intervals that match periods of documented illness and decline in Elizabeth's correspondence. Segmental hair mapping links the Queen's symptoms, fatigue, confusion, hair loss, to sustained lead exposure, not a single acute event. Genetic modeling adds another layer. The team compares known susceptibility markers for heavy metal toxicity using data from other royal remains. Though a definitive genetic variant cannot be confirmed, the reconstructed profile suggests a heightened vulnerability, consistent with the Queen's rapid decline once symptoms began. Panel consensus is reached. The forensic evidence supports a narrative of cumulative lead poisoning, exacerbated by genetic and environmental factors. Centuries of speculation yield to a new, science-driven explanation, one that finally answers the questions secrecy left behind. Science now exposes what power once concealed. As genetic forensics rewrite history's margins, even the legends we idolize prove vulnerable to evidence. The past no longer belongs only to victors. It belongs to those willing to question, to examine, and to face whatever secrets the DNA still holds.